Imagine a colossal facility capable of building ships up to 400 meters long with cutting-edge technology and a view of the Bay of All Saints. Now imagine that same giant standing still for years, covered in dust and unfulfilled promises. This is the story and also the rebirth of Enseada Shipyard, one of the largest shipbuilding complexes in Latin America, which is located in Maragogipe, in Bahia. But now, what once seemed like a forgotten project is starting to come back to life with the direct interest of Petrobrás, marking a new chapter for the Brazilian shipbuilding industry. In this video, we will understand where it is located, how it was built, what is changing now, and what the impact of this reactivation is for Brazil, especially in the context of energy transportation and the recovery of industrial sovereignty. This is now one of the most important, ambitious, and controversial projects in Brazilian naval engineering. Before we understand the grandeur of the Enseada shipyard, it's important to understand exactly what a shipyard is and why it is so important for Brazil. Simply put, a shipyard is a large industrial facility focused on the construction, repair, and maintenance of vessels and naval structures. It can be a cargo ship, an oil platform, a submarine, or even a floating module for power generation. It all starts there on solid ground, where giant steel pieces are cut, assembled, and integrated like a huge puzzle. And in this scenario, Enseada Shipyard has stood out as one of the most modern and complete in the Southern Hemisphere. The complex in Maragogipe, Bahia, was built in a strategic area along the Paraguaçu River, with direct sea access and under 70 kilometers from Salvador. This allows for easier logistical flow, both for maritime and land routes, as well as proximity to industrial hubs and specialized suppliers. But what really stands out is the scale of the project. It's an impressive 1.6 million square meters of total area, equivalent to 225 soccer fields, a true coastal industrial city planned with the most modern advancements in naval engineering. Enseada's structure is of international standard, giant dry docks capable of housing vessels up to 400 meters long, something rare even in Asian shipyards. Modular assembly yards, where different sections of a vessel can be built in parallel, speeding up the schedule. Goliath cranes, which move structural blocks capable of supporting 1,800 tons, and its own port terminal, which allows the direct shipment of the produced structures without relying on third parties or the conventional port network. With this setup, Enseada Shipyard is not just a naval construction site. It is a multifunctional industrial hub capable of simultaneously meeting the demands of the naval, offshore, energy, military industries, and even the green transition with wind energy. Brazil has already stood out worldwide in this sector, and with Enseada, this story may be about to start again. At the turn of the 2010s, Brazil was experiencing a period of great optimism. The discovery of the pre-salt reserves had sparked a dream of turning the country into a global energy powerhouse. But there was an obstacle. There was no infrastructure to build the vessels and platforms needed to exploit the wealth at the bottom of the ocean. That's when the Enseada Shipyard was born in 2012. A project that symbolized Brazil's attempt to rebuild its naval structure and reduce its dependence on foreign shipyards. The venture was driven by the National Local Content Policy, which encouraged the production of equipment and ships within the country, creating jobs and boosting the regional economy. The idea was simple. If Brazilian oil was offshore, the vessels should also be built here. To make this a reality, a consortium of giants was formed: Odebrecht, OAS UTC Engenharia, and the Japanese Kawasaki Heavy Industries, bringing international experience in naval technology. The shipyard was designed mainly to serve Petrobrás, with the construction of 6 drill ships as part of the National Fleet Modernization Program. These drill ships are specialized vessels used for drilling wells offshore, or, as they say in the offshore sector. The term offshore refers to everything that happens far from the coast, usually out at sea. Whether it's oil exploration, platform installation, or the construction of floating structures, it's one of the most complex and technological segments of modern engineering, and this was exactly the field in which Enseada intended to stand out. The construction work began at a fast pace, and in less than 3 years, the shipyard was already fully operational, monumental, with fully equipped workshops for cutting, welding, automated metal plate processing systems, and international certifications that attested to its safety and quality standards. The peak came in 2014, when the complex was officially inaugurated with a grand celebration. The Enseada Shipyard was a symbol of a new Brazilian industrial era, modern, self-sufficient, and ready to compete with the world's major shipyards. But the path of achievement would soon face a turbulent period, which would put the entire project to the test. Right after its inauguration, the Enseada Shipyard seemed ready for a successful journey. With state-of-the-art facilities and secured contracts, the complex quickly went into operation. At the peak of its construction, the project employed more than 7,000 workers, boosting the economy of the entire Recôncavo Baiano region, and putting Maragogi on the global shipbuilding industry's radar. However, the national scenario would change drastically in 2015. The economic crisis, the drop in oil prices, and especially the consequences of Operation Car Wash hit the companies responsible for the shipyard hard. The Odebrecht OAS UTC consortium collapsed, contracts were canceled, and Petrobrás's ship orders were suspended. What was once a symbol of progress became a source of frustration. The construction work was halted, much of the site became idle, and thousands of jobs disappeared in a short time. But the Enseada was never completely abandoned. Even during the years of crisis, the complex's infrastructure was maintained, the assets were preserved, and the shipyard sought new ways to reinvent itself. In 2018, already renamed as Enseada Industrial Naval, the shipyard began a phase of diversification. New contracts began to emerge, aimed at sectors beyond oil, such as wind energy, the metal mechanical industry, and the construction of industrial modules. In the following years, even with modest operations, Enseada confirmed partnerships with international companies and has now resumed the use of its facilities. One of the milestones of this recovery was the contract with Siemens Gamesa, which used part of the shipyard for the manufacturing of components for wind turbines. But the real game changer would come in 2023 with the announcement of a new cycle of investments by Petrobrás in the Brazilian shipbuilding sector. The federal government began to prioritize the reindustrialization of the country, and Enseada, with its ready infrastructure and privileged location, returned to the center of the board. With that, the first moves for the large-scale resumption began: hiring personnel, equipment maintenance, technical inspections, and meetings with investors. The shipyard came to be considered a key piece in the plan to revive the Brazilian shipbuilding industry, and more than that, a national strategic asset. Brazil was gradually turning its attention back to its shipyards, and Enseada, silent for years, was preparing to be reborn even stronger. To understand the true scale of the Enseada shipyard, you need to compare it side by side with the giants of the global shipbuilding industry, and the comparison is surprising. The dry dock at Enseada can accommodate vessels up to 400 meters long. It is the same size as those found in shipyards in South Korea and China, two countries that lead global shipbuilding. The total area of the complex, 1.6 million square meters, is larger, for example, than the Meyer Wolf shipyard in Germany, one of the most traditional in Europe. And in terms of production potential, Enseada is capable of building ships, drill ships, oil tankers, offshore platforms, modules for wind power, and even military vessels, which puts it on equal footing with the main shipyards in the world. What Brazil has in Maragogi is an infrastructure that, with the right investments, can simultaneously meet the demands of Petrobrás, the energy transition, and international clients, While Asian countries use state subsidies and skilled labor to compete for contracts, Brazil already has a strong, established structure with a high rate of nationalization. Possible. More than just a modern shipyard, Enseada represents Brazil's chance to get back in the game of the global shipbuilding industry, and with competitive advantages that many countries today don't have, such as proximity to the South Atlantic, accumulated technical expertise, and huge pent-up demand. The Enseada shipyard is not just a grand infrastructure. It represents the possibility for Brazil to regain an industrial leadership that seemed forgotten. Amid a new phase for Petrobrás, the pursuit of technological autonomy, and the global race for clean energy, the Maragoja Pay Complex emerges as a key piece to connect tradition and future, past, and innovation. The full reactivation of the shipyard can transform local and national realities, create jobs, strengthen production chains, and make the country more competitive. More than that, it's a chance to show that it's possible to do high-level engineering in Brazil with excellence, scale, and social impact. Because in the end, more than building ships and platforms, the shipyard can help build something even greater, a new cycle of sustainable and genuine industrial development. Thank you for watching this far, Brazilian. What are your thoughts on reopening the Enseada shipyard? It would be very important for Brazil's economy in the Bahia region, right? Leave your thoughts about this topic in the comments below. I'll stop here for now. A big hug and see you in the next video.